This is the great, great, great granddaddy of air guns.
I think you've got a really wonderful piece. It's not rare. You can go to the library and look up and read everything on every one of the pages.
A man with Britch's Bible piece entered the shop.
So I have a page and a couple other little documents from the famous Breeches Bible from 1594.
Whoa. There was a time when the Roman Catholic Church didn't want the Bible printed in any other language than Latin, because the church felt that the Bible is something that should be taught by the church and that individual people shouldn't be reading the Bible themselves.
Oh, wow.
There was a big movement in Europe, and everyone decided that they would print Bibles in their native language, and a lot of people didn't like that. So, half of Europe it was legal, and the other half it wasn't. So how much are you looking to get for it?
I'm trying to look to get $5,000.
All right, I'm looking at it thinking maybe it could be worth money, maybe it couldn't. But, I really have no idea.
An expert was called.
I'd like to have someone come down and take a look at it, and then we can talk about a price after I have it authenticated and verified.
Awesome, sounds great to me.
It's an important Bible. This was the Bible that Shakespeare would have used. This is the Bible that the Pilgrims on the Mayflower carried with them. It's really important culturally. These days you can even still find full, complete copies of 1590s Breeches Bibles for sale pretty easily.
Oh, wow.
If someone were to buy this, I'd expect a retail price of around $200.
It's about the cost of the frame.
Cost of the frame.
All right.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make you an offer today. It's really cool. Hopefully you learned something, and good luck selling it.
Thanks, brother, you too.
A man brought Soviet launch keys to the pawn store.
That's just a key.
But what is it a key to?
What is it?
It's a Russian ICBM launch key.
Seriously?
It would launch a thermonuclear weapon, which is the most powerful weapon on the Earth.
The thing that scares me about this, I could make this myself. I have a mill and a lathe in my garage. How much do you want for them?
I was thinking somewhere along the lines of 10,000.
Okay. My concern is how simple they look. I could make these in my garage out of aluminum.
So an expert was contacted.
Haha, yes. These are nice. They're launch keys.
My problem is they look pretty simple to make.
If you made this out of titanium, you've got a bigger garage than anyone that I know. And you've got some really heavy machinery. Titanium is really hard to work with. A lot of folks tend to think that they were used for like ICBMs and nuclear missiles and that sort of thing, but no. They were used for launching spacecraft. Yeah, they are rare because there were a lot more ICBM keys out there than there would be spaceflight keys.
Well, thanks for coming by, Mark.
Not a problem.
Now that I know what these things really are, I got to admit, I want them. I would give you like $1,500 for them.
1,500, huh?
It's $1,500, and I am taking a complete crapshoot here.
Okay. I'll keep it.
Okay. Well, thanks.
Thank you.
Rick had some secret documents from World War II.
Back in Vegas, I bought what I think are super secret Nazi spy documents from World War II for $5,000.
He wanted to assess these papers from someone else.
Well, I have some documents I think are associated with the OSS. I'd love for you to take a look at them. So where did they search me and where did we go?
Come along, I'll show you how to get in here.
So these are them.
I believe these are counterfeit IDs, and
I think some of this stuff was counterfeit by the Germans. Maybe the Americans were working on stuff, and it all ended up in the hands of an OSS agent.
That's a pretty good guess. The FBI would have wanted some way to find out if these were real documents or they were forgeries. Perhaps the Germans were producing these and the OSS overran a production facility, found them, and that's how they were able to get them into their hands.
Okay.
They look very real, but as a government official, I can't authenticate these artifacts. But the head of the OSS Research and Development Program, a guy named Stanley Lovell, created a scrapbook. Look at this. There's certificates, all sort of similar to here. You've got a registration certificate,
All right.
So these are the type of pocket litter, as it's called, that you would want to have in order to make it look like you really belong there.
So at this point, I'm pretty secure in my feeling that this was counterfeit stuff from the bad guys.
A woman with old Pentagon documents entered the store.
Hi, I have old documents from the Pentagon from 1972 to early 1973.
You weren't a spy or anything, were you?
No, not at all.
We shouldn't call Homeland Security or anything like that? Where did you get these?
At a yard sale.
Seriously? This is USSR International Affairs Vietnam Developments. I mean, it sounds like stuff they wouldn't want, like, the media to know about. I mean, the general public.
I mean, you never know what could be in these. I mean, you can find out who killed JFK in here.
I have no idea what's in them, but it's clearly from the Pentagon. And they're discussing Vietnam, terrorism, and all the crazy stuff going on in the early 70s.
They summoned an expert to the scene.
Going well. How about yourself?
Oh, pretty good. We have reports from the Pentagon. We're just assuming there's stuff from Watergate, the Gulf of Tonkin, JFK, some UFO stuff. We're not sure exactly all that's in here, but...
Minor little things? Cool. Okay, do you mind if I take a look at them?
Please do.
Okay.
Please do.
Okay, these are, in fact, daily reports. They were put out by the Federal Broadcast Information Service. What these were for was to allow people who were interested within the Pentagon to know what was being said in foreign markets. The person that was getting this was Doxa, the Deputy Director of Operations for Counterinsurgency and Special Affairs. He would have been the one that was in charge of, kind of taking this information and using it as part of the planning for what we were going to do in terms of psychological operations. It's openly available today. Yes, they're legal to own, so they're not secret.
Okay, good.
So you're okay on that. This was just public radio, public television, but they're not the sort of thing that a lot of people would collect, that they would hold on to. It's been copied, it's in public collections, it's not rare. You can go to the library and look up and read everything on every one of the pages.
They're not rare, they're not collectible, and it's all public knowledge. I just wouldn't want to make an offer on them. I just don't see no money here at all. At least we found out a little bit about them.
Yes, thank you very much.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
An older man brought documentation related to the Lindbergh case to the store.
I've got some papers and documents from the Lindbergh kidnapping case.
It was the crime of the century. Has anyone seen this stuff before?
You're the first one to see this since the early 1940s. It's a picture of the baby, picture of the ransom note.
So where did you get these?
These were willed to my grandmother. Leon Hoyges, the investigator, he rented a room at the hotel that my grandmother managed.
American dream stories don't get bigger than Charles Lindbergh. At the age of 25, he was an unknown airmail pilot, and he decided to be the first person to fly solo across the Atlantic. In 1932, Charles Lindbergh had just bought a house in New Jersey, really rural. Right after he moved in, his little boy was kidnapped. Right around 10 o'clock at night, a nanny went up to the room. The kid was gone. There was a ladder going up to the window. In 1932, when 20-month-old Charles Lindbergh Jr. was kidnapped, the story consumed the world. The kidnappers wanted $50,000, and even though it was paid, there was no sign of the Lindbergh baby. They had written down all the serial numbers and all the money. One of the rungs in the ladder was broken, right?
That's correct.
So it had to be replaced with a board, so he just pulled a board out of his attic or something.
They were comparing if any of the nail holes lined up with the nail holes in the studs of the attic.
So they were trying to do some CSI back in the day. I gotcha. Must have not been too smart of a criminal or he was framed.
Beyond just records, this guy seems to have actual evidence from the case itself. There's original ransom notes and actual nails from the Hopman house. It's been over 6 decades since anyone's seen this stuff. It's unbelievable.
So did Bruno Hopman actually do it, or?
I believe he probably did it.
I personally don't think he did.
You think he was framed?
I think he was framed.
Skilled assistance was
I never
required,
believed
so an
what you
expert
have
was
for me most
contacted.
of the time. So, what do we have?
New evidence in the Lindbergh case.
They tried to prove that one of the side rails on the ladder came from the attic area of the apartment building. This kind of nail would make this kind of a groove in the board once you took them out.
So was it the same?
Yeah, it was. Ransom notes that were part of the case, but they were not the actual ransom notes.
I mean, I know you don't give values, but is this like collectible?
Certainly, there'd be researchers who would love this kind of stuff. There's enough conspiracy theorists that they would want to, get into this. It's not something that you're going to find on the open market.
So you're looking to sell it?
Yeah, I think I would.
How much did you want for it?
I have no idea.
I would give you $1,000, and I am just taking a complete shot in the dark. That's why I'm not going to offer some crazy number.
Would you go 2,000?
No. 1,500 would be it.
I think I'll just pass on it.
Sorry, we couldn't make a deal, man.
I didn't want to sell it for $1,500. I don't think $1,500 is that much money in this day and age.
A man brought Japanese takidanto to the store.
I've got this Japanese tekidanto.
A takidanto. I've actually ate at that place. It's pretty good. They were originally used to lob large rocks over castle walls during a siege. The modern ones can throw a grenade hundreds and hundreds of yards. It's got a lot of history behind it, and that's what World War II collectors want. Okay, and how much did you want for it?
I'd like to get $2,000 for it.
Okay. I know absolutely nothing about the value of this thing at all.
A professional opinion was sought.
Oh, living the dream?
As always. The guys usually call me down here when they need help placing a value on an antique gun, firearm, or piece of militaria. You'll have one guy in a mortar team carrying the mortar, okay, and one guy humping this big fat base plate. Well, the Japanese made it a lot more simple and a lot lighter. Guys would run up on the field, they'd get down, they would hit it into the dirt, scoop it back, would adjust an inner rod here that goes up and down, which would affect range, okay? They'd drop a grenade in, and then they would pull this trigger, and off it would go.
Are they legal to own?
Yes. The answer is yes, this is 100% legal to own.
So what's it worth?
Let me evaluate the piece. Let's see, first we look at the serial number, which is, well, it's 4 digits, so it's an early production piece, which makes it more valuable. Okay. I think they made about 50, 70,000, 100,000 of these. You'll see these on the internet. People will ask crazy money for it. I mean, I've seen them, oh, $5,000. It's the Japanese knee mortar. It's the only one like it.
$1,200, I think, is more than a fair price. I have to retail this thing.
$1,300.
I'll meet you in the middle at $1,250. I mean, there's just not a lot of money here, you know.
Sold.
Okay. I'll meet you right over there, and I'll write you up.
Sounds good.
A man brought an antique pistol to the pawn store.
Got some old pistols here.
Sweet. Were these like a judge's pistol? What's the mallet for?
It's not a gavel for a judge. They started wearing guns on their hip when there were 6 shots. This was more or less 1 shot and toss it. But I don't think they're for dueling because they're percussion cap, which means they're probably made after the 1830s. You would take a cap, you would put it on there, pull the hammer back, and bam, it would shoot fire through the hole and lit everything on fire inside the barrel. For hundreds of years, dueling was considered an honorable way for 2 gentlemen to settle their differences. But by the time these were made after 1830, dueling had become completely out of fashion. They're beautiful guns. I mean, the engraving is really, really nice. The woodwork is beautiful. The design on the barrels, I can tell these are old. 1830 to 1870, that's what I can tell you. What were you looking to get out of them?
Well, they look pretty nice. I was looking about 1,000.
Okay. I think we might be able to do more than 1,000.
Okay, well, I don't know nothing about it. So.
An expert was invited to assess the problem.
Oh, cool. My name is Sean Rich. I own Tortuga Trading Incorporated, and I specialize in antique arms and armor. These have rifled barrels. Okay, that means that the ball is going to spin, keeping it a tighter pattern. The accuracy is greatly improved. And these date to about 1840, 1850. The maker I'm not familiar with. Just the form tells me that these are either Belgian or from France.
So what does something like this go for?
Because this is in such nice condition and complete, you're gonna see these probably in that 5,000 to 8,000 range. They're hard to find.
I'll go $3 grand, and that is the top dollar I'm gonna offer. I have to make some money.
You couldn't go 4.
No, 3,000, it's a fair offer. I don't know if this is gonna be here a week. I don't know if it's gonna be here 2 years.
Okay, I'll take it, 3,000.
All right, 3,000 bucks. Chum, go write them up.
A young boy brought an Apollo heat shield capsule to store.
piece of heat shield off the Apollo 11 space capsule.
Oh, you need some help with that, buddy?
Yeah.
That's seriously cool.
Yeah.
How does that mean it came from the Apollo 11 capsule?
Well, it was the only thing at the time they were using this for.
And do you know why they need a heat shield?
It keeps the astronauts inside the capsule from burning up when the capsule re-enters the atmosphere.
The Apollo 11 moon landing is one of the greatest events in human history. A piece of it would be a huge find. But before I'm gonna make an offer, I need the answers to a lot of questions.
They enlisted the help of an expert.
The guys usually call me down here when they've got an interesting piece, they need a little bit more history on it, and I try to help them out. I can remember when we stepped onto the moon. It was a hugely important thing, and it was the culmination of that space race that John F. Kennedy set us on when he said, we will go to the moon within the decade. And we made it. You know, the heat shield part of the space program was one of the most important parts. So what are your concerns?
I just don't know. Is it off the Apollo 11 capsule?
It is, I believe, from the Apollo program. This is not off the command module. However, I do believe that it's off something within the Apollo program, probably one of the test rockets. I think you've got a really wonderful piece.
Unfortunately, I couldn't make you an offer.
That's really kind of disappointing news, but...
It's still extremely cool, and I still love it.
Okay, all right. Thanks for coming in, I appreciate it. You bet. Thanks a lot.
An older gentleman brings in an antique gas pistol from the 1800s.
It is a late 1880s Giffard carbonic gas pistol. This is the great, great, great granddaddy of air guns.
This looks like it throws a lot of mass. I mean, it's a 30 caliber bullet. It's big. It's gonna hurt you. It'll kill you.
I got you.
So I'm assuming this was probably a target pistol, or I really don't see it as a defensive weapon. You know, it's got a really super long barrel and...
But I'm just assuming, like, 1880s, there was plenty of firearms back then. I mean,
okay,
who would use an air gun?
You know, they were always trying to improve on guns, okay?
Rick had a close look at it.
Do you mind?
No, be my guest.
So I guess it would be a ball and not a conical bullet. You just drop it in there. And this is, oh, this unscrews right here.
That's correct.
And this was the gas cylinder.
That's correct.
I think it's amazing. How much you want for it?
I'm looking for $7,500.
Dollars.
U.S.
A specialist was called to examine it.
What if I told you that this gun was not charged with compressed air or CO2 at all, but with a liquid?
All right.
Carbonic acid. The guy who invented this gun was named Gifford, Paul Gifford. He was an inventor. He was really very, very smart. He came up with a patent to capture and compress carbonic acid into a liquid form and put it into these tubes. It was certainly worth my trip down here. Money, it's worth $3,000.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you $2,500 for it.
He just tricked you into paying him $2,500.
He did not trick me into paying him $2,500. Would you take $2,500?
3,000 is definitely out of the ballpark.
All right, man, take it easy. We're not gonna make a deal.
2,500.
Do it for 2,500?
I'll do 25.
All right.
I'll go write him up?
Yeah, I'll go write him up.
A woman brought a World War II skyrocket jacket to the store.
Found this awesome jacket at a thrift store. I loved the style and all the patches. I knew it meant something to somebody.
This is definitely cool. How much are you looking to get for it?
I was thinking about $350.
That's not out of the question, but I think a lot of the value here is going to be in these patches.
He requested the assistance of an expert.
Military patches, especially from World War II. Now, the thing that makes a patch good, it's the rarity of the patch, or like a famous division. If a division or a regiment did something really well known. I mean, I can already tell you in here, this is 82nd Airborne. They jumped into Normandy on D-Day. I think it was somebody's collection of their time during the war. So this is a Pacific issued patch, and it was typically used by American pilots and airmen. and they would sew it on the back of the leather jackets or on the inside. And if they went down, this would basically translate to something like, I'm an American soldier, please help me and you'll be rewarded. This is an $800 patch.
$800?
We're getting closer to that $350 you wanted.
Oh, no.
So what kind of value do you think this thing has altogether?
I've been doing this for almost 2 decades. I've never seen anything like this. It truly is one of a kind. $6,500?
Wow, yes, thank you.
I mean, at $2,500, I'm in it at a fair amount.
Should go up about $500 more dollars. 3,000? Just a little bit more.
I'll do 3,000.
3,000?
Let's go write it up.
Thank
All right.
you.
Leave it right here, come on.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe for more entertaining content. Stay tuned for more.